everybody, welcome back to A Sweet Journey. I am Sonia, also known as Sweets, and welcome. I am in this small journey that involves my testimony and kind of how I got to where I am now. And it was just placed on my heart to just tell my story because I believe that it's important. I think it's important because the things that I encountered over the years bring me to this place, and I feel like I'm in a really, really good place in my life. And so I thought I would share. And so last week I talked a little bit about finding courage, and I did it through the lens of my mom and her dying on the table. And it's so interesting. I was talking to my niece, and she was having a conversation with my brother, and another layer of the story was added on, which I think is very interesting, in that my brother remembers that my mom said she saw gates, like her memory and the time that she had died on the table is that she saw gates, but was told there wasn't time yet. And so whether you believe that to be true or not, it is absolutely my mom's truth. And so I think that's interesting. And so that courage space, I think it's important. And I don't think that it happens without spiritual encounter. It's the reason that I bring it up now. I think that there is an encounter that we have, a spiritual encounter that we have, that allows us to walk in another level of courage. However, today I want to talk about finding my voice, because I think that is important. I think, it's a part of who I am today. And right now I believe my voice is like my superpower. And so there was a time, though, in my life where that wasn't true. I remember my childhood. I was really incredibly shy. So as a baby and a toddler, I don't remember, but people tell me a lot about how I was like kind of beloved, and people would come and I would sit in their lap and they would just, they might cry, or, I've heard all kinds of different things about how gentle, like soft-spirited I was, and as a result it just softened and lightened up environments. I believe that still to be a part of my temperament sometimes. So throughout my childhood I was really, really shy, and even though I was beloved, I was quiet. I think that when I think of how quiet I was, I think it also lended to me being extraordinarily vulnerable. And there's one very, very specific situation in my childhood where I think I was in maybe like the third or fourth grade, something like that. And my mom used to always let my siblings have gatherings at the house. My siblings were older, like my older sisters were like 10, 11, or 9 and 10 years older than me. But they would always have these parties at the house and such, and it was one of those nights, and I think people were like sleeping all on the floor and such, but there was one person who was there who I remember in the middle of the night I kept hearing the floor creak, and I remember being so scared, so incredibly scared, and so I would like cough, or I would do something, and then I would hear the feet scurry away. At some point I fell asleep, and I woke up to this person actually like on top of me, and I was molested, and I was terrified. And even though there was a house full of people, I didn't scream, I didn't say anything, nor did I say anything the next day or any of the days following. I remember there were several times where we moved. My mom, we had to move a couple of times, and this person would show up at the house again and just always find a way to just taunt me. And I never said anything. It was very strange. When I went to kind of like junior high, my teenage years, I think I was still quiet, I was still shy, but I was curious. And I think my curiosity played out in sexual ways, in some ways, in Like I started smoking weed like really, really early, like probably 5th or 6th grade. And so I just started acting out. But again, I was really, really shy at this time. But I had a friendship circle, and this friendship circle was a group of people who were really bold and smart and strong. And I remember when I was around them, I think I was like the most vocal, and I was the most like authentically who I was. But everywhere else, I was pretty shy. And when I think about, I always said when I got to high school, something happened my junior year in high school. I was just about like literally 2 years from graduating, but my junior year in high school, I always attribute that to be the time that I found my voice, and that I just decided out of the blue that I was gonna try out for cheerleading. One of my best friends was a cheerleader, and I just decided I was gonna try out for the cheerleading squad, which was very, very strange, but I did. I made the team, the varsity team, and I became a cheerleader. And I was literally one of the loudest cheerleaders. And my mom used to always say, like, I saved up all of my words and my energy for that season of my life. I've always attributed that to being the time that I found my voice. But I was remembering something as I was just kind of jotting down the things that I wanted to say today. And I remember right before high school, I might have even been a freshman in high school. We were in another house, and this person was in the house, but also my brother and his wife. It might have been his girlfriend at that time. My brother was about to go away to the Marines. He was about to leave, but he was in the house in one room. I was in a room. I think maybe my sister might have been in a room. My mom was downstairs, but this person, I don't know how they were a handyman, and so he oftentimes would fix things around the house and things, but he would always make it to our houses, which was very strange. Anyway, I was in my room, and I heard this creeping on the floor again, and then I heard the creeping on the stairs, and again, that numbing, debilitating feeling came over me, and I was like kind of shocked and stunned and scared. And but I would hear them kind of go back down and come back up and go back down, and I heard them do it several times. And it was, I think, time to get up. I had to go get in the shower for school, and I was in the shower, but they like played with the door handle. They tried to get in the bathroom. Again, there were people in the house, but something I could not. I don't know what it was that would stop me from using my voice. I don't know what that was. However, I remember I got out of the shower, and I like peeked out of the door, and he wasn't there. And I went to run up the stairs, and I could hear his feet running across the floor. And I was so scared, and I got in the room, and I could hear him on the stairs. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I just screamed. I screamed as loud as I could, and I just kept screaming. I woke up everybody in the house, and I don't even remember who the people were, but I think it was like my brother and his girlfriend or his wife today, but I believe they came into the room. I can't remember, but they were kind of like holding me, and I was crying uncontrollably. And then I told them what happened. And my brother, I think, went looking for him. I don't know what happened after that. All I know is I think that is the moment that I found my voice. Something in me decided to stop being mute about like this moment with this person who consistently just kept coming and threatening my life, like threatening me. And I think that is the breakthrough that I experienced. And so when I think about that, I think that is the big example of something that I think, I like finding your voice tends to be something like, I decided to do public speaking because I was afraid. I always have been really, really good at public speaking. I remember I was in elementary school and I would get up and do spelling bees, or I would do speeches or different things. I've always been able to do that. However, I've never been shy about that. If I would get up in front of people, I wasn't shy about that, but I was absolutely like very introverted and really like a turtle inside of my shell. And so, of course, as always, I want to glean lessons from this, because I think that there are some people who are watching right now who maybe what I shared about my experience and why my voice was muffled back then, maybe that resonates. Maybe you're just a person who you really know that your voice has power, but you don't know how to get to it. And I want to speak to you, and I want to encourage you, and I want to just share just a couple of things that I think are really important when it comes to finding your voice. I think one of the things, because last week I talked about finding courage, I think finding courage becomes the first step. And as I said in the beginning, and I repeat now, that finding courage is not just this inner thing that we do. In my opinion, my experience is finding courage. Actually, there's a spiritual interaction that you have, and this courage that you get taps into the one who created you. So the one who created you, spoke things into existence, and they were. And then he tells us that we could speak those things that are not as though they are. He tells us that we have access to that. And so take courage. And if you can't take courage in like yourself, take courage in the one who created you. And if you don't have a relationship with God, that would be step one. Because for me, I think who I am today and how I operate and how I move in life, it is highly influenced by my connection to my Creator. I just believe I'm made in His image. And in His image, I have the boldness to be able to speak. And so I think courage lives in that space. So that's the first thing. And I think on that day, when I was in my room, something happened in me that decided to allow my voice to be heard, and not to just be heard, but to be heard loudly and boldly. And that was a moment in my life. I'll never forget it. But it actually, I believe, allowed me the opportunity to try out for the cheerleading squad. It is as if I was turned inside out and I became just another type of person. My personality came out. I am probably more of an extrovert, but I just happened to be very bashful growing up. But that moment in time shifted a lot of additional things in my life. So that's the first thing, is just find that courage to be able to know that something in you is actually really powerful. That's the first thing. Then when I go to the cheerleading incident, I think that we actually do have to accept a challenge. So I had been talking about wanting to be on the cheerleading squad, and I had friends around me that were very supportive, very inspiring, really just, in my corner. And I accepted the challenge to actually try out. And I think even though applying for trying out for the cheerleading squad doesn't seem like the thing that maybe I found my voice, but it absolutely was. It absolutely shifted my way of operating in life. There was something about it that allowed me the opportunity to express myself, and it was a challenge. And it was literally it was like going from night to day. It was like literally turn off, turn on. And so there might be challenges that you're facing right now, challenges that when you think about it, it is audacious. And when you think about it, it is beyond what you feel like you're able to do. What would it hurt for you to just accept the challenge and do it? You never know. You don't know until you get to the other side of it. And so that is my recommendation, that you accept the challenge that I'm providing to you right now, or the challenge that, like, there might be this undercurrent for you and you really, really want to do something, but it's like, oh, I don't know. I invite you, I challenge you to step into the thing that you have been really, really intimidated by. And that's the first step. That's the first step after you have gained the courage. That's the first step to actually getting to a point where you can step into your voice and you can find your voice. Just accept that challenge. All right. And the last thing that that I just wanna I wanna really make sure that I ground in something that I think is really I think it's important. I think that care and concern for yourself and for other people is important. One of the things that I have been really, really blessed to be able to do is to be inside of conversations with people who have experienced something real similar. Maybe it wasn't the exact scenario, but similar. And there is a care and concern, not just for me, but a care and concern for other people that makes me want to use my voice now. It makes me want to say the things because I know that somebody can actually benefit. I know that there's a benefit to me being able to speak those things that are hard. It's hard for me to even remember the way that I was handled. That's difficult. And so there is a version of taking care of myself in that I don't share. I'm in my 50s now, and I'm sharing this in this way. However, I've taken care of making sure that I am well and able to do that. But then I also know that there are hurting people, and I care enough about people that I believe that I cannot but speak these things. Like the disciples, like I cannot but speak the things that I've seen and I've heard and that I've experienced. And from that, I now take space with my voice. I take as much space as I possibly can. I go into a room and I understand that my voice is not only welcome, but it's needed in spaces. And that's my superpower now. That's what I do. So that is that. So that is how I've found my voice. And I encourage you and I invite you to just step into courage. And that courage really, in my opinion, it lives in a real relationship with Jesus Christ. I challenge you to do one bold thing, just one bold thing that gets you closer to finding your voice. And maybe for you, like one of the things that I didn't mention is years later, after that day that I screamed, years later, I sat my family down in the living room and I talked to them about what happened. And everyone cried because everyone thought that was that one event. And I was fine because that one event I yelled, but they didn't know that he had been in our space as a predator in our home for years. And they didn't know that. And but I sat them down and I told them about it. That was a challenge to me, but I stepped up to that. And then take care, not just of yourself, for sure for yourself, but also just there's a care and concern for other people. And people need to hear your story. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. That is a part of my testimony. That is how I found my voice, a part of how I found my voice. I think there's many other things I could talk about just in high school, college, going into the next phase. But I think really that kind of shifts into next week's conversation about how I'm going to say I found God, but God doesn't get lost. But my life shifted really big after college, and it was when I made my connection with him and gave my life over to him, and I've been living connected to God through Jesus Christ since. So I'm going to talk about that next week. Until such time, may the Lord bless and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he lift up his countenance to you and give you peace. Bye.